Unmute. Hi, Lisa, can you hear me? Not yet. So I want the gallery. Okay.
Like Michael's coming in from home.
Yeah, there he is. He's here.
He's still.
Yep, I'm here.
Are you in quarantine, Mike?
I'm out of quarantine, but I'm still kind of, well, I'm finally starting to feel a little bit better.
Glad to
It's
hear
been a
that.
couple weeks for you?
Well, yeah, last week I was out for Monday and Tuesday due to being in contact with someone, and then I tested Wednesday and I tested positive. So I was out the rest of last week, and I talked to my doctor Monday, and I was still kind of, I felt okay, but the second I did anything, my energy level just depleted. And he was like, all right, I'll take you out for another week.
Did you take the Paxlovid, the morning after pills or anything like that?
Nope, they didn't, because fortunately, I didn't have any symptoms.
Oh, you just felt tired, but nothing.
I was just very run down. Like I felt like I had a lot of energy, and then the second I did anything, like walk down the stairs, I just started sweating like crazy, and I just felt very drained. But that was it. Didn't have a fever, didn't have a cough, didn't. And unfortunately, my wife tested positive today.
Right.
I'm sorry.
We stayed on separate floors. We made it 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks, and then bam, she nailed.
Maybe not from you, you don't know, right?
Yeah, maybe, but she's blaming me. So
Well, duh, you're the husband.
yeah.
Well, you're married, what do you
You're
say?
married, exactly.
Okay. I have allergies, I don't know.
You hear me?
I have allergies, last night it hit me.
Hey,
Ooh.
there? Yeah.
Three, yeah, because there's 5 in this committee.
Well over.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Steve?
Rennie, I think.
You expect him?
Oh,
You expect him?
I don't, he didn't contact me, but he would not be here, but
Who's that?
Ready.
Is he away?
I haven't heard from him.
Didn't, because I know, I sent him some emails, unusual, trying to get back. Are you sure he didn't ask for coverage for this? And that's,
I didn't see anything.
I didn't see anything either.
huh?
I didn't see anything.
Where was here? Okay.
Who? Oh, I was gonna say, who's the chair of this committee?
Big
I'm a
one.
little out of it.
I think that Rita lady might know something.
You never know.
Rita who?
I feel like Rita Lou. Coming down with it.
Wow, Rita who?
Here's a mystery person coming up the stairs.
Yeah.
Sounds like somebody wearing their slippers.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, 1 minute to spare, if that.
I want to go back out.
Go ahead.
Yeah, please. That way we can reprimand you.
I have a wife for that. You know, we made the same joke without you here about a minute and a half ago. It's a joke that begs to be made.
Okay, good evening, everybody. This is our Laws and Rules Committee meeting. It is 6:30 p.m. We are going to open May 18th. Let's see, we have committee members, Alderman Carl Frankel, Alderwoman Barbara Hill, Alderman Rennie Scott Childress, myself, Rita Worthington, chairs the committee. We have Mayor Steve Noble in attendance, Fire Chief Chris Wright, is it?
Right.
Ray.
Yep.
I'm sorry, officer, I don't know your name. I know you're not.
Kyle Thompson.
Okay. And we also have joining us virtually Alderman Michael Olivari. We have Elisa Tinty, who is our clerk, and we also have Bartek Stargill. Did I say that right, Bartek?
Stardie, but it's totally fine.
Good enough, right? And attendance. Okay, again, this is our Laws and Rules Committee meeting. It's Wednesday, May 18th and 6:31 right now, and we're going to open up with Mayor Noble on the agenda items. Everybody got an agenda? First item on the agenda is the Juneteenth city holiday.
Thank you, Alderwoman Worthington. Since at least 2017, we've been declaring and proclaiming Juneteenth a holiday here via proclamation anyway. And, thanking and recognizing all of the great groups that put on events every year and do a lot of great work throughout the year. And this, in 2020 and in 2021 respectively, the federal government and the state of New York officially declared Juneteenth state and federal holiday. And I think it's time for us as the city of Kingston to also be able to proclaim Juneteenth a city holiday. And in doing so, formally, we would close municipal buildings on Juneteenth or the observed day, which would follow, the federal and state, holiday calendars. And so in your packet tonight is a memorandum of agreement that we reached with CSEA to be able to close our buildings and be able to give our CSEA members that work in those buildings the day off from work, but hopefully the opportunity to then participate in Juneteenth events that may occur, in the community, and to really be able to take a moment to just reflect on what National Freedom Day is all about here in this country. And so that is our request to be able to declare Juneteenth a city holiday.
Any questions?
Oh, and I just would add, I guess it would start this year. And so this year Juneteenth falls on Sunday. And so it would be observed on Monday, the 20th.
So this would affect things like DPW pickup and all that, so that would be just, if you slot it into the holiday calendar as a standard holiday.
Yes.
Oh, any idea what this would cost? Not like, would they kind of, any kind of condition?
Generally, when we close for these types of holidays, being that there is just one holiday that week for public works perspectives, there really wouldn't be any cost. Again, we wouldn't be open to be able to serve residents that day, in our buildings, but there'd be no additional overtime or, expenses related because we'll still have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Everything just gets pushed back one day in terms of trash pickup and so we should be okay in terms of costs.
Yeah, it would act the same way as other holidays would, right, that we observe. Right?
Yeah, there are some unique holidays where we sometimes have 2 holidays off in a week, which then sometimes would move a trash pickup to a Saturday, which would then have costs, but in this case, it would not.
Anyone else have any questions? No?
I move that we adopt this resolution.
Is there a motion?
Yes.
Motion by Rennie Scott Childress, second. All right. Any discussion? All right, there being no discussion, I'm gonna call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, great. So I'm gonna read the resolution. The resolution to approve memorandum of agreement related to Juneteenth holiday. And I think it passes. This is great. The county has already put this into their work schedule. So. Okay. No, I'm thinking, you go around that way. All right, the next item on our agenda. That will you be as well,
Yeah,
Mayor, right?
I've got the first three tonight.
Certificate of need ambulance. We also have the fire chief here, so if he wants to add.
And so just to give some background on this, you may remember from the April Common Council meeting, we held a public hearing related to our community development block grant to be able to apply, to be able to create one of the first in our state anyway, of a co-response mental health part paired with EMT kind of first responders to someone who's in crisis. That grant's been submitted and it's actually on the track to get approved in the next few weeks. In order to be able to prepare to launch that service this year, a certificate of need is required to be requested by the Common Council to be able to go to the state health department, which would then allow the city of Kingston and the fire department and Chief Ray to be able to allow us to basically run an ambulance service. As part of the co-response, our mental health professional paired with our EMT would receive a call potentially from 911, potentially from the police department. They'd be dispatched to all calls that are within their operating window that is not and would go alone to that call unless there's a potential safety hazard, at which time they would be accompanied by the police department. But many of the calls do not have a kind of threat of violence or and would really be able to just have this team go. So it really reduces the amount of law enforcement interaction when someone's having a mental health crisis. But it allows us to be able to show up in a vehicle that not only has these two staff with them, but it will also have the ability for us to be able to transport, whether it's to the emergency room, where many of our individuals that are in severe crisis sometimes need to be transported to. But as you may have heard, the county is also working on creating a 24-hour stabilization center, 2 buildings down here on Broadway. They just announced a few weeks ago that will take some time to get set up, but in that when that is ready and up and running, that would be another location that we would be able to transport folks to. And so that's just the high-level overview. Chief, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about kind of the preparations that you all need to do in terms of EMS, as you do have an EMS coordinator and.
Right. What we need to do is actually, for the ambulance, to be able to transport somebody, you're going to be state certified. Then that's part of the certificate that we need, is a certificate of need. Then we get a certificate from New York State also for the ambulance itself. So the ambulance actually would be the same exact ambulance that Mobile Life is running right now, the same equipment and everything, just minus the paramedic trucks. And in New York State, you're allowed to transport somebody with one EMT, certified EMT, like the fire department, and the driver would be the mental health worker from the county. So we'd be able to transport that individual to a hospital or to the 24-hour stabilization center there. So this is the first step as far as the certificate of need it goes. And then the second step is acquiring the ambulance, which we have an insight to one that we may be able to acquire. Get us up and running right away, and that requiring a certain amount of equipment to staff the ambulance so that we get our certificate. The state will come down and put a sticker on the ambulance that says it's New York State certified. Then from there, we'll wait. So all the calls get vetted up at 911 center, and then either go to the police or they go to the fire. And if it's just a fire, like the mayor said, if it's a non-violent, it's just a fire. And then just the ambulance would show up in the code 1 response, no lights, no siren, nothing, just kind of come in silently, stealth, like nobody knows we're there, stealth mode. And pretty much the health care worker would take over the scene as far as with the patient. And if he or she determines that they need to be transported, we put them in the back of the bus and we transport them code 1 again, no lights or siren.
Okay.
Just take them to him or her to the facility. Yes.
How would this change or improve the current situation? I don't really know how these things are handled now, how much redundancy is involved, why is this? This is not intended to be a negative statement, but how is this a positive
The
contribution?
positive contribution, also,
Yeah.
all right, positive contribution, A, is all calls right now go to 911.
Right.
And they determine whether or not it's a police matter or an EMS matter. Right? With this in place, if they determine through their training, it's just an EMS matter, the police don't get involved. So they don't tie a car or 2 cars tied up. So there's, police are now available for next call in the city of Kingston. They're not tied up with this patient. EMS just goes there, we go there, and the mental health worker will evaluate the patient.
So currently, a PD member is dispatched every time?
Everyone.
So what we're really doing is saving unnecessary time and effort by the PD relative to these matters.
And we're sending the proper resources to the incident.
And what exists right now with the police department in terms of the resources that they have, there's a program called Mobile Mental Health here in Ulster County. And there's a team that is available. There's currently 2 teams of people in Ulster County. There's the potential to have, I think the county executive is working on adding a 3rd team. And those teams will cover the entire county. And so they can be spread pretty thin with a number of cases. And what that does is that it, sometimes with our police department, their response for a mobile mental health worker, sometimes if they're in Kingston and available, they could be there on scene in less than 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But if they're currently working a case in Shandaken, they may be hours away based on their caseload. And the real benefit that we see here is also being able to have that kind of direct, immediate response, which currently does not happen with mobile mental health.
And I'd say the other benefit, if I'm not mistaken, is that it's not authority figures of the same sort showing up to people who are having mental health issues, which can be intimidating and unsettling and just exacerbate the situation. So that's another factor, right?
Yes.
Right. And there isn't an EMS always available to respond, which means if it comes in and KP goes to it, they just can't leave the patient. So they're tied up, or what they could do is turf it off and make it a medical turf to us, the fire department, that we would respond. We cannot leave the patient once we get there, no matter if there's not an ambulance available for 15 minutes. That end of the fire truck, the engine, and those 2 or 3 firefighters that are on that scene cannot leave that patient. That's abandonment, and that's not good for the city or for us.
So I'm a little confused, maybe because I have allergies, but, so when you say, your team's deployed, or you say there's a social worker will meet you from the county?
Now, they will be right with us, right in bus with us.
So who, are those social workers part of the mobile mental health team or some other social workers?
So once, so with the grant funding that we have, we will do either a partnership with the county to work with their contracted mental health workers, which already exists.
Who are they? Because I don't understand.
It's
who they are.
Access currently.
Oh, so that's mobile mental
Yes,
health team?
yep.
Okay.
So that's one option. Another option, depending on if they're available and have the staff, if they're not, we would have to just put out a regular proposals. Or the county may choose to just actually hire a mental health person and provide it to us. All of our options are currently open for that. We know that the funding set aside, our grant contains about $100,000 to hire an EMT that would be assigned to this, and $100,000 to be able to hire a mobile mental health type worker, a crisis counselor. But we don't know exactly yet who that will be until we get the grant, get the ambulance, and then do the right kind of a procurement of that.
So how many hours, is this a 24/7?
It's an 8-hour shift.
It's an 8-hour
So
shift, okay.
So this is a pilot, and so we are using the data from 911 to determine the highest call volume for mental health calls, which right now is seemingly, that 10 to 6, 11 to 7, 12 to 8 p.m. timeframe. And so that's what, so the county's provided us with their call data and volume. And so that's where we're starting, 5 days a week, from, that 8-hour block. And that's where we're starting. And eventually, if the city decides to grow that, we will, evaluate that as we go. But this is the first few years is going to be, we have this initial grant through the community development block grant at the state level to be able to help buy an ambulance, to be able to help get this set up. And then, as you may remember, we also set aside funding in the American Rescue Plan to pay for the next few years of this. I think we allocated about $700,000, which will pay for staffing over the next few years.
And just one more question, the training of the people who are going to the scene besides the social worker, do they have, do the police have that CIT training or the other training on how to de-escalate situations or?
Right, so all of our police officers are given that crisis training, and we would work to make sure that the EMTs that are assigned to this ambulance, have that as an option to be able to make sure that, again, they're focused on patient health, but I think it's, any time where, there's a kind of a crisis intervention technique that needs to be used, in those situations, that may trigger actually a police involvement because it's getting to the level above kind of a healthcare worker. Because our EMTs are basically nurses, right, that are going out there to be able to help provide care. If someone is, escalating to that next level, we're going to be doing it in partnership with our law enforcement. But our hope is that most of these calls will be able to get there quick enough to be able to de-escalate before it gets to the level that, we need to get the police department involved.
Okay, and then one more question about the CON. That takes, I think you're doing it in stages, the certificate of need, or how long does that take in general for like an ambulance type service?
We don't have to show the Department of Health or qualify. They know that we already have an agency number, it's a 4-digit number that we've had for 40 years.
Okay,
So we're not like a new private company trying to build a new ambulance service and start up. They got to go through all the hoops. This is all they want is that the city buy into it with the resolution. That's all they really
okay,
want.
so that's.
So this is going to expedite, once we get it,
Right.
once we get it that and get that back up to Albany, this is going to really expedite because we already jumped through all the hoops 40 years ago. It's become an EMS agency.
Okay, yeah, I was just concerned because I've done CONs for bigger projects, and it could take a year and a half.
Now, this.
So I see it's sort of like it's a different process. All right, thank you.
Michael?
Thank you. So my first question is, where would this ambulance be held once we actually do get it? Like in which station?
Company one,
Which is Central Station.
Central Station.
It's a central station. Okay. Yeah, because my concern was, like we're saying that this is an emergency medical services vehicle, and I was just concerned where if this is central and something's on the very other end where a different unit could have possibly gotten there faster, would we still dispatch that, or would it be maybe a different ambulance service that could possibly get there faster?
911 had vetted the call already, so they deem it as not an emergency, so KPD would be notified. So this would be, our response from station one to any place in the city is 3 minutes, is 3 minutes. I mean, it all depends on how many red lights you get on Broadway, and we may roll through a stop sign here or there.
Okay, and my follow-up question is, I know that the central station isn't in the greatest of condition for you guys. Are you going to be able to have this stored inside? I know there was issues with the one bay when I did that walkthrough with you.
Now, it will be stored inside. What we will be doing is moving, one of the engines back out to an end station.
Okay. All right, thank you.
That, once the 911 call comes in, depending on what type of situation it is, KPD will not be called.
If
If it's
deem
only-
it-
if they
if
only
deem
deem
it's
it-
nonviolent, this is somebody that needs to talk to somebody and is very,
Right,
very low, then they'll just send us.
okay,
And that's where the mayor talked about, our people will get additional training and to recognize if it's starting to escalate, and then get the proper help. You know, it's like, okay, we tried, it's not going our way,
Mhm.
you know, and it's just a phone call. They're just they can only deem which way is it going, the KPD or Kingston Fire on words that they're receiving through the phone.
Right,
So, so we was having additional, which we do, we have radio contact, we call right on the radio to KPD. You know, closest car here just home with help.
okay, sounds good. Before I go through the proper procedure, Michael, I think I need to ask you if I could sign the committee report on your behalf.
Yes, you can.
And the following ones as well, so I don't have to keep doing it individually each time.
Absolutely. You have my permission to sign all of them for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so, Mayor, did you have anything else, or Chief, or anything you have? Am I good? All right, so, make a call for motion.
Motion to adopt.
He's got children. Second. Franco. Any discussion?
Did you read it?
I will read it now. Request for common council to obtain a certificate of need from New York State from ambulance service in the city of Kingston. Is there any discussion? No, there being no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No? Okay, so moved. Thank you very much. I'm gonna sign the committee report, pass it around. And while everybody's signing that, we'll move on to agenda item number 3. And that is the open meetings law.
And so, this past budget in New York State, as part of the final budget agreed to by the legislature and the governor, they updated open meetings law. And as part of that update, permanently changed the structure on how open meetings law works with terms of virtual meetings. Up until now, we have worked under basically a COVID executive order that has allowed us to be virtual like we have been over the last 2 years. But we're now getting into a new type of, permanent format that is allowable for municipalities to take advantage of. Some of the changes will make it easier for folks to participate under traditional open meetings law virtually. Other components may be a little bit more of a challenge, but it is now the law. And so we'll go over it briefly, and Barbara, if I'm wrong anywhere, please let me know. But generally speaking, under the new law, we, have to do a few things. First, we have to adopt a local law stating that the city of Kingston wants to participate in this type of virtual, to allow virtual meetings to occur under this new format. 2, we have to be able to set up rules and procedures on how to manage those remote participants in our meeting settings. And the thing that is the biggest change about this is that in order for someone like Alderman Oliveri to be able to join us, is that we need to have a quorum in person in a public place. And so going forward, starting June 8th, in order for someone to be able to join virtually on a meeting, we need to have a public body have a quorum in a public place. So for instance, in this committee, you would need to have 3 out of your 5 members here in person to allow 2 of them to be able to be remote. And if they are remote, they have to be able to identify based on our rules, procedures, and our new law, why are they remote? Are they sick? Do they have childcare issues? And all of those reasons are specifically defined in the state law and will be defined in our law going forward. In order to take part in this, we need to pass a local law, by generally the June 8th timeframe. I'm not sure how the timing will line up with that, but that is the general concept. But the benefits of this new law is that if we were to go back to traditional open meetings, if we had someone joining remotely, virtually, which was allowed prior, they would have to state their address, allow people to come into their home and watch the meeting with them. And they would have to have their address from where they're viewing printed 24 hours in advance on an agenda. Those requirements have now been lifted. So that is no longer needed now. But you do have to have a public body joining together to be able to allow the one or two people to join remotely. Okay. What else did I miss?
I don't think you missed anything, and that 99% of the time, that's exactly how it will work. In theory, if you had someone who, say, knew they would be in Florida at a particular time, and that the meeting notice that went out could follow the traditional path of saying, you know, this older person, for example, is going to be participating from this address in Coral Gables, and make that publicly known in the notice, and open the door to anybody who wants to show up in Florida. And that individual, under those circumstances, could still be counted for the purposes of a quorum. But, you know, that's not by and large how our bodies operate, so it'll be, as I explained.
I have one question for you. I continue to have a lot of COVID caution. I have, a compromised wife. So is COVID caution going to be a grounds for not attending in person a public meeting, or is that not going to be on the list of approved reasons?
So as it states now, a participant's disability, illness, caregiving obligations, or factors and events of significant and unexpected nature which preclude the member's in-person attendance may constitute the extraordinary circumstances justified in remote participation in a meeting. And so there's some broad strokes written in when it comes to, illness and caregiving obligations. And so I think that you would have to speak with counsel to decide whether your situations, but I do believe that, this was written in a way to still allow people who have health concerns and health factors or high risk factors to be able to allow them to, join. I don't know.
I'm not sure it's written in a way so that I can stay home because my wife, because I'm concerned. That's not a caregiving function so much as concern about the health and well-being of my wife. From what I read, I could see somebody opposing that and winning. So I'm wondering if this can be amended to include, having good reason to want to exercise particular caution because of a pandemic.
So if I can add, there are two steps, as the mayor pointed out. First is that we have the local law that's written in this broad way, but all of our public bodies will have to come up with some more granular instructions. For example, how you communicate the fact of your emergency circumstance, can you use by email, by what time period, deadline. And so I see it as possible for all of our bodies to note that type of concern. I'll give sort of a more specific thought to it, but at the same time, what you seem to be talking about is an open meetings law challenge, without going into all the sort of nuts and bolts of how open meetings law challenges might come up in litigation to annul a body's actions. It's hard for me to see where a court would credit that type of argument. That someone who would have to care for their partner or child in their home, who followed the established body's procedures for requesting that permission, where a court would somehow say, no, I'm going to annul the body's actions on this grounds. I find it inconceivable that we can.
Well, I guess I was confused because it was my understanding, and apparently it's wrong, that there was going to be local legislation that we were going to draft to be more granular, as you said. So the question was, I'm assuming that we still can draft it in a way that's favorable.
So to clarify, the legislation, the draft legislation is in the packet, but each body will have to come up with rules and procedures for its own operations, and that's not legislation. All of our boards and commissions, for example, will revise their rules and regulations. The council's rules, once this is passed, will also be amended.
Thank you. Okay, good, thank you.
Good?
Mhm.
Michael, any questions? Good. All right, so I'm going to read the committee report. All right, in response to open meetings law changes, chapter 56 of the laws of 2022, signed by Governor Hochul on April 9th, 2022, the Common Council adopts a local law as annexed here to authorize and specify procedures for remote meeting attendance via video conference under extraordinary circumstances. Such circumstances shall include, but not limited to, a participant's disability, illness, caregiving obligations, or any other significant or unexpected factor or event that precludes the member's in-person attendance at the scheduled meeting. Any person seeking to participate remotely under this provision must receive approval from the meeting chair before the start of the meeting, and as a precondition to that approval shall identify the nature of the extraordinary circumstance. The chair may not count any remote participants toward a quorum unless the participant's remote location has been identified in the public notice for the meeting and that location is open to members of the public. Other individuals participating remotely may attend and vote at meetings so long as a quorum has been convened in accordance with Public Officers Law, Section 103-A. Wow.
No, I didn't write that one.
I was wondering, in my mind, I was reading, who wrote all of this? Okay. A motion to discuss?
I move that we adopt this resolution.
Sorry?
I move that we adopt this resolution.
Okay, second? Okay, so I'm thinking there's no discussion, so I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Okay, thank you, Marion.
All right, those are all my items for tonight.
Yeah.
Good luck at the rest of the meeting. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you, take care. All right, so we're gonna move on to number 4, the zoning rewrite final scoping document. And Bartek is going to talk to us about that.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Elisa, if I could have David and Amy promoted to panelists, please. So the resolution in front of you tonight is for the approval of the final scoping document, and that is part of the seeker process for the citywide rezoning. So as a reminder, the scoping is basically an outline of the potential environmental impacts, alternatives, and mitigation measures that we should be looking at when we're adopting the form-based code. In terms of preparing this draft scoping document, there was a public comment period on the draft that was opened on April 5th and it closed on May 2nd. There was also a public hearing on April 21st. As an appendix to the scoping document in your packet, there is a summary of the public comments that were received. And there is also a response and any changes made to the actual scoping as a result of those comments. And I'd be glad to take any questions.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms.
So how many people do you think provided comments overall as a general figure?
Yeah, there were 4 public speakers on the public hearing, and then there were 2 additional written comments that were received within the comment period.
And Bartek, you said you redrafted or incorporated the comments that you had gotten from the public?
Yes, exactly. We went through the comments line by line, and you see that in the appendix with the response. So if a change was not made, we justified that. But for the most part, we incorporated, the comments that were relevant.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? No? Go ahead.
I think I do. I was reading some of it, like, page 4, I'm just checking in about what our responsibilities are as the common council. And I guess we, on April 5th, we did X, Y, and Z. On the 21st, there was the public scoping. What's the next steps exactly I don't know, I'm fuzzy at the moment, but
Sure. So I can provide an initial answer, and David, you can back me up with additional detail as needed. So the Common Council is the lead agency in the secret process. And once the scoping document is accepted and passed by the Common Council, the next step is to prepare an environmental impact statement. So once again, as part of that, there will be another public comment period and review period for that document. But this scoping document in front of you tonight is basically the blueprint for that environmental impact statement. David, any details on that?
Artek, you've been very eloquent. We'll be preparing a draft generic environmental impact statement. We're using a generic environmental impact statement in order to essentially look at the general consequences of the rezoning as opposed to a specific environmental review that might concern one particular property in the land use and program of development that might be proposed on a site. But as Bartek said, we'll be preparing a draft generic environmental impact statement. When that is ready, we will supply it to you, and you will determine if that DGEIS, the draft generic environmental impact statement, corresponds with the information in adopted scope. At that point, if it does, you would accept the document for public review, just like the scoping document was in a draft form accepted for public review in order to receive comment on it. And by the way, the form-based code will be pertinent to, it will be part of the draft generic environmental impact statement that we prepare.
Yes.
Just wanted to add for members of the council that we've already started to talk about some fall training programs to the extent that might be some for especially for new members or for folks who might want a refresher. My office will be organizing a couple of trainings along those lines in the coming months.
excellent.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Bartek, could I just check on something? You used the metaphor of a blueprint, which suggests to me that a lot of the detail has already been put in here. But it seems to me this is more like a framework, right? So this is laying out the different categories that are then going to be filled in by the various agencies that are listed here and other inputs, right?
That's correct. I think framework is probably a better metaphor. You're correct. This is the general framework without the details, so to speak. This is the outline of what we'll be doing within the environmental impact statement.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, I actually was going to ask a question similar to that, as far as the other agencies that would be involved in this and helping to frame this document. So the council has been deemed as lead agency, so will input also continue to be from this council as well as these other agencies?
That's correct.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, so I have a committee report in front of me, and let me read that. This is a resolution of the Common Council of the City of Kingston, New York, adopting a final scoping document in connection with the Kingston Forward rezoning project under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, secret process. Motion?
I move that we adopt this resolution.
Second?
Having practice.
All right. There's discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice night.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay. And so while I'm passing this around, let me get back to. Okay, next I think Elisa is up. There she is. And this has to do with the record of activities for the standard workday. Elisa, you're on. We can't hear you. Nope. Not yet.
Elisa, see if your actual computer's volume is all the way up too.
Are you joining with the system speakers or some other audio? The problem was on the commission, they could not hear me. Okay, Lisa, I have you on speaker.
Okay, I don't know what is happening because this is how I always run the meeting.
All right, so we're getting an echo, so you might have to turn your system down.
Okay, how's this?
That's better.
Okay. So this is just a housekeeping item. So any elected officials who have opted into the retirement system are required to maintain a Workday calendar for 3 months every year. And then you, the legislative body, have to adopt the resolution stating that they have in fact maintained their calendar, and then I have to submit it to the state. So this happens every year. And there's only a few of you who are involved. In fact, Michael, I did send you an email. I need you to please call me in the office. I have some questions about your schedule, so if you could call me, please. But this is just something that has to get passed every year.
Okay, pretty standard.
Yes.
Okay.
So once you pass the resolution, it is required to post it in a public place in my office for 30 days. And once I post that, I sign that I have in fact done that, and I get sent to the state comptroller.
Okay. All right, so let me read the resolution that's before me. To adopt the standard workday for elected officials. Have a motion?
Michael had his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michael, sorry.
What time are you in tomorrow, Elisa? That's all.
I'm usually there a little after 7, so you can call me anytime.
Carl, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to read it once more. To adopt the standard workday for elected officials. Have a motion on the floor, please. Second. Any discussion?
No discussion.
Okay, no discussion. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No.
It's
All right. Thank you, Elisa.
You're welcome.
Bye.
You want me to do the next one, or you want me to just come back?
What's next?
I'm number 7, the Commissioner of Deeds.
Yeah, why don't we do 7 and then we'll go back up to 6. Thank you.
Okay. So this is also just a housekeeping item. Every 2 years, a resolution is passed that includes a list of names from every department that needs to be a Commissioner of Deeds, which is very similar to being a notary. They just have, by being included in the list, it gives them the authority to sign some documents for their department. So the list is generally quite lengthy.
I'm going to read that resolution.
Second? The same two people. Nice. All right, no discussion. I'll call for the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? All right, that's it. And Elisa, I will put these committee reports back in the majority leader's room, okay, on the table.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, have a good night. Well, you're still here, you gotta stay here.
Tell your phone to stop doing psychedelic drugs.
Okay, And so now we'll go back up to number 6, which is the last agenda item. And that is the establishment of a marijuana regulation and taxation act, MRTA, Task Force Focus Group. And it says President Shelton, she said she could not be here. Do you want to first talk about what the MRTA is?
Yes, if you
Yeah.
want me to fill that in, or,
Yeah.
I'm
Why don't
President
we-
Schatz, so I don't know if you want to start giving your.
Well, the only thing I was my part would have been the part about the council forming this focus group and or task force.
Okay, I mean, I'll be very brief. I know we've had some back and forth about the changes in state law. The very end of last year, before some of the new council members came on, there was some question about whether or not the city had taken steps to opt out of the retail dispensary and lounge opportunities. The city did not, and that time has passed. So at this point, everyone is seeing in the papers and other sources, information about the state driven process that's rolling out in cannabis sale, cultivation and sales. And so we had a number of discussions, I talked with council leadership as well as the mayor about how it'd be useful to get together community voices to share experiences and goals and information and advice, though not necessarily in a form where they would be taking action, but compiling information that then would be passed along to obviously the council, the mayor, our boards, to the extent that, for example, planning board should keep some community interest and concerns in mind, and to work together to make this information publicly available and compile it. So that's sort of the genesis of this item.
Okay. And so what we thought we would do is pass a resolution to start a focus group and or task force to bring different people from the community together to kind of act as an advisory board. So this body wouldn't have any voting power, right, or authority in that way, but to give ideas or solutions on how we can bring together maybe organizing programs, maybe, and especially when it comes to the criminal, the social justice aspect of it. I'm sure this is going to produce some tax revenues, right? How is this going to benefit those who might be interested in going into this industry? And what kind of programs we can set up and to kind of educate the public about it.
And I was remiss in my overview, one, to not mention the tax issues that I think are of great interest, but also to underscore the fact that the city's role in this implementation is limited. As it's noted in the materials, there is a time, place, and manner kind of control that the city will be able to have largely through the zoning process with respect to the actual retail locations. But again, the tax revenue and economic opportunities are areas where, it's ripe for community input. And it's also useful to think about the kinds of issues that might also be of interest for the zoning early on, particularly as we are talking about the broader rezoning that's already underway.
Right. And so basically, this task force also would address issues that may arise from the passage of the MRTA. Right, and we definitely want to do it in a fair and equitable way, right? And so what I would ask us to do as a council to maybe identify those that might be interested in this task force or this focus group. I guess we haven't really decided what we're calling it yet. We can say focus group / task force. And how it would work is the council would choose 6 members and the mayor would appoint 3. And we already discussed this with the mayor and he's on board with it. And so basically that's what it is. Yes.
This is a minor point, but it's one that sort of sticks in my craw. The MRTA, marijuana, was named that cannabis was labeled with to make it Hispanic and negative, and those people do it and all that stuff. We are embedding a kind of racist term in our legislation. I would propose that whatever we do, we call it cannabis and not marijuana.
I suppose, I don't think that would be a problem. It's
Like,
just,
take
that's
back
just
the
what
state,
it's
have it-
called, though, the marijuana regulation
Yeah.
text.
Though our task force slash focus group can be called whatever.
Whatever we wanted,
Let me leave marijuana out of it.
yeah, and this is,
Full talk.
yeah, and this is what we would discuss as well among ourselves, you know, how do we want to define this focus group, task force, right? But, tonight's issue would just be to pass a resolution to establish one.
I'm all for that. I just wanted to get that word in while I could.
I can see how the word marijuana could have some negative connotations
It's,
too.
Harry Anslinger invented it in order to demonize.
Okay, any questions? Yes, Michael?
Well, it's just a real quick side question about the actual form. Are we allowed to share this with our constituents if there was anyone interested in joining the task force? Like the PDF that we have, can I share that via social media?
I would think so,
I
right?
mean, I'm assuming once the council fully adopts it.
Yeah, once we adopt a resolution to form one, yeah, because that would be information that we would have to get out to them anyway, to the public anyway.
Okay.
Okay, we have no other questions? You wanna let us in?
He had a few.
I just looked up that question. It says here, NPR, should I use the term marijuana? Some avoid the word because of the argument that it was popularized in the United States to stoke anti-Mexican sentiment. But Campos, one of the people that are interviewing here, argues avoiding the word erases the influence of Mexican immigrants in the United States culture. He said the term became popular because of Mexican influence on US culture, not because of a conspiracy to demonize Mexican immigrants.
Well, I'm
So
gonna stick by my belief, right or wrong, right?
All right, so does that, is that going to weigh in on this resolution, how I
No,
wrote
it makes
this in
no
here?
difference at all. It's all the biggest song.
All right, so I'll read the resolution. Resolution for the establishment of a Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, MRTA, Task Force / Focus Group. Okay? That's what I wrote.
It's your resolution, so.
Okay,
I don't think.
all right.
do we want to add the makeup
Oh,
with the
that
six?
should consist of,
I should add one other point, the makeup and whether or not it's going to be for a specific duration, because that was left open in the material.
right, I know in the information that you sent us, I think you put in there that it should just be for a period of time. It shouldn't be,
It's up to what you want, but my recommendation was to have it for a fixed period. I don't know.
Does 2 years make sense to you?
I think my recommendation was for,
6, 9, or 12 months.
right, to pick some time period to then compile something and then make it available in time for the broader
I like.
allowance.
Good. I
Yeah, we can always lengthen it too.
Yeah, if we needed to, right?
totally follow your guidance on.
All right, so, resolution for the establishment of a Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, MRTA, Task Force Focus Group to consist of 9
Mhm.
members, with 6 members being appointed by the Common Council and, being appointed by the Common Council and 3 by the mayor. Sound all right?
Yes,
All right,
and did you put the time period in there?
for a duration of 1 year, which may be excluded, and which may be extended.
So if my friend X wants on this, how do I put that person's name forward? Do I take it to you? Do I take it?
I think,
There's an application.
there is an did you guys see the application process? Or the proposed application?
Okay, so there will be a place to pick up an application and fill it out on the city website.
Yes, yes. What I will do is ask that you take a look at that application. If you didn't get it, I'll send it out.
I'm sure it's in there somewhere.
Yeah, look at that, and even if you want any changes or amendments to that application, submit those as well, okay? Okay, can I finish writing this? 6 members, 9 members. With 6 being. Of 4 months. So do I need to read this again? Okay. Resolution for the establishment of a Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act, MRTA, Task Force / Focus Group to consist of 9 members, with 6 of those members being appointed by the Common Council and 3 by the mayor for a duration of 12 months, which may be extended. Yes? All right. Let's call for a motion.
All right. We go.
Second.
All right.
Share and share alike.
All right, discussion? All right, all in favor? Any opposers? No. All right, great. And I think that's it on our agenda. And so does anyone else have anything that they want to say or mention?
Thank you for asking.
No, so, okay, well, I'll just, this is just an announcement, Juneteenth celebration will be on June, I think it's gonna be on the 18th, it's on the 18th.
Center for Safe Park.
No, it's, well, there's a few celebrations going on, but the one that I'm talking about is going to be on Pine Street at the African American Burial Grounds. And this year, my late husband will be honored.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
thank you, thank you. Okay,
Will that be the street locked up?
yeah,
then?
usually they block half of the street off.
Yeah.
So it'll be all day, vendors,
Mhm.
musical performances.
That was so much fun last year. Great. I
Okay,
saw you dancing with some young men. They're very cute.
anything else? No? All right, and so, all right, we're gonna adjourn at 7:28.
We need a motion to adjourn.
We need a motion to adjourn. Ray, your hand didn't go up.
Second.
Okay. All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, guys.